All right. It's here. Good afternoon and welcome to Grand Rapids Community College Board of Trustees meeting Monday, February 19, 2024. Notice that Trustee Lopez is out of town, so he's not able to be with us today. Wonder if you, President Lepper, or other trustees have anyone in the audience that they would like to introduce?
I do not.
Anyone? First order of business then is the approval of the agenda. Trustees note this is the time to pull anything out of the consent agenda for further consideration if you're inclined to want to do that. Any changes to the agenda that was presented? Hearing none, a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Support. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We now have our first opportunity for public comment. This is the time where anyone in our audience can make comment to the board on any matter that's in today's agenda. If anyone is inclined to do that, they could just come up to the microphone at the podium. Seeing no one coming forward, we'll move on to special order of business. I invite Lisa Freiberger to come up. Introduce the Michigan New Jobs Training Program Agreement with Gentex for our approval.
Thank you and good afternoon. We have a new Michigan New Jobs Training Program Agreement to bring to you this evening. This is with Gentex Corporation. You can see as part of the summary that you received, there are 337 new qualified positions that will be hired over the next 3 years. This proposed training agreement is in the amount of $500,000, which will be paid in full based on calculations within 5 years, paid in full through the payroll tax, state payroll tax capture that will be redirected to pay for the training. I would like to take just a minute, if it's okay, to introduce Megan, who is back there. Megan is new to us since last July, and she is the one managing all of these Michigan New Jobs Training programs very skillfully. We are very glad to have her as part of the team, and she really worked with Gentex to put all of this together. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. This is, we have 18 current active Michigan New Jobs Training programs. Gentex would be 19, and we have closed 13.
And we are the most active college with using that fund, and in the past 10 years, we've trained 22,000 people.
Wow, wow. Any questions for Lisa?
I always like to ask that question of what number this is because
Yeah.
I'm so proud. So thank you for, it's great.
A motion to approve the agreement with Gentex.
So move.
Support for that?
Support.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion also carries. We also have a federal award supplement or singles audit. Lisa, that I invited you.
I'm going to ask our controller, Todd Hurley, to come and join me to walk you through this document. Just to remind you, we had Plant and Moran, Vicki Vandenberg, our partner from Plant, here with us at your board meeting last October. She presented the full independent audit that Plant Moran did. At that point in time, they had not yet completed our single audit testing that they needed to work through because of the number of major or large programs that they needed to actually test, including all of student financial aid, which is a large opportunity in and of itself. They have now finished that testing. You should have their draft in your packet. I'm going to have Todd walk you through some of the highlights of that, and then we would both be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Todd.
Hello, good afternoon, and I'm happy to present this report to you. As Lisa mentioned, Plant was here in October. We approved those statements. This is a separate report where Plant's required to provide an opinion on the college's compliance with requirements for each major federal program. So you probably ask, what is a major program? Auditors start by looking at anything with federal expenditures greater than $750,000, and then they do some assessments and look at what's been audited recently, and then those are selected for audit. Traditionally, we always have had the student financial aid cluster audited, which would include Pell, student loan, work study. That's been audited every year except 2 years of COVID because we had HERF funds. So usually it's just that program and maybe one other. This year, GRCC had 5 major programs, so a huge increase. And that's, I think, really due to the fact of lots of good work happening across campus with our grants department in securing federal funds, significant ones at large amounts. So kind of a not so fun consequence to have the audit piece, but great to have all the dollars with us. So 5 major programs. Just a couple highlights on the report. Page 8 will show that we spent $29.1 million total in expenditures, and it's broken down there by grant. Page 11 is also a good summary of the auditor's results. So they go through and show you which programs were audited. We had 2 findings, which were summarized and disclosed. Both of those were not repeat findings, and we responded with a corrective action plan to avoid anything any future findings with those. So, and then I would say most importantly, you can note that we had an unmodified opinion, unqualified opinion on all 5 programs. So that's the highest possible opinion that you can get, and there were no material weaknesses noted. So, I would say, yeah, while our goal, is always to have no findings, this year was challenging with the 5 programs. And I think, in my opinion, we overall did a great job of compliance, and I'm very thankful to the grant managers and also Lisa Dopke and her team for all the work they do. We're still waiting on a final draft from Plant Moran before we send it on to the federal government, but we don't anticipate any significant changes.
All right, thanks, Todd. Are there questions?
I just have a question. It sounds like the findings that they found are minor findings, and it basically has to do with looking at subrecipients of grants. And it sounds like you put things in place to monitor that going forward, and so that's great. My question is, are the subrecipients that received some of this money through us, are they all within our campus? Are they on campus? Are they external partners?
External partners, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Then we need to accept this audit. So I'll accept a motion to accept the singles audit as presented.
So moved.
Is there support for that?
All right.
All in favor say aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you very much, Todd. And Lisa, I'm going to turn it back over to you. We have a mid-year budget update that we need to approve.
Absolutely, that's next, and I would also like to thank Todd. Todd thanked our grants office and all of our program team. He and his financial team do an amazing job managing $29 million from the financial lens as well. So certainly appreciate that. We have a mid-year budget update proposal for you to walk through. There's a PowerPoint that I will briefly walk through. I would have Nat up here with me doing some of that, but he is wrestling with a vocal challenge, so I'm going to walk through it instead. But Nat and his team do a great job pulling all of this together as well. With that, this is a standard budget amendment that we typically bring to you in February. Just from an overall picture, as you can get a sense, so you can get a sense of where we are. We'll look for your consideration of this amendment tonight. We will bring you tuition next month, so we'll bring you a tuition recommendation at your March board meeting. And then we'll be prepared to show you what we are working on in totality for next year, 24-25, at your traditional May work session. With that, we can go ahead, and I didn't take the clicker, so you just want to advance? Thank you. Again, high level, focusing primarily on the general fund. You have the entire packet as well as the narrative, and we would be happy to answer any questions that you might have on any of it. From a high level, we have adjusted revenue now for winter tuition. We are up, which is great news. Our billing units are up approximately 3.5% for winter. So if you'll remember, when we brought to you the budget amendment in November, we did not yet have winter tuition. So we were up in fall and we are up again in winter. So we are bringing that revenue. Also recognizing property taxes, which are up from our original budget projection as well. And then the largest revenue adjustment, and then you'll see some of that offsetting on the expense side, is related to state aid and specifically retirement. We have an increase in our UAAL payment. If you remember, that's the one that comes in and then goes out on the expense side of approximately $880,000. We are also reconciling, now that we are receiving payments, some increased offset funding, as the state calls it. So this is funding the state is moving to us to help offset the rate increase of MIPSers directly. So that is revenue that we will retain and recognize to help offset just the general rate increase for MIPSers for this year. So you'll see some MIPSers expense on the other side of that. We are also increasing the estimated replacement personal property tax payment. So if you remember, a number of years ago, personal property tax by and large went away. We now get an annual payment in replacement of that. That number is allocated to community colleges as well as other municipalities and taxing authorities on a property tax growth basis now. They have switched that funding. It looks like this year's payment is going to be higher than we have projected, so we've included that there. And then finally, looking at interest income and continuing to have a strong interest rate environment for now. So we are increasing that for this year. On the expenditure side, we have some proposed additions for you, which I will walk through. Other than these additions, the other increases in expenditure are directly related to MIPSers and what we just talked about on the revenue side, as well as some general annual salary reconciliation as we look to person by person reconcile salary in each of our bargaining units and meet and confer group. So with that, what I'd really like to spend just a few minutes on is looking at the proposed additions within general fund. The list is on the screen, and I also provided copies in case you'd like to make any notes. We are proposing 2 additional positions, a counseling position, as we are directly working to acknowledge issues that we have across campus. Student mental health is a huge concern, huge issue across the nation, across the state, and certainly here as well. We are looking to directly take a step towards addressing that. I'm not sure it does it in totality, but taking a step in that direction and adding an additional counselor position to service students specifically. We are also looking to add an administrative type position at our Lakeshore. We have a fabulous Lakeshore executive director that's doing a great job. Cameron is here with us. Cameron is the primary administrator on site at our Lakeshore campus, and as our enrollment continues to grow and activities continue to increase at that campus, Cameron often finds himself pulled between here and Lakeshore. We really believe that we need an additional administrative position there, someone that's a building operation person that's really on ground during the day when Cameron is out in the community or here on main campus.
And this is the fully loaded cost of the position?
Yes. Our estimate, I mean, the position itself will need to go through our classification process, but yes, the estimate is a fully loaded one. The other items are non-salary, with the exception of our sign language interpreters, which are hourly, but we are looking at a one-time workforce development equipment adjustment, primarily maintenance and not new equipment, but we really believe we need a reset there, so that's a one-time cost. We have an instrument replacement fund in our music program. That is an annual transfer to a designated fund that is really needed for accreditation. So for accreditation, we have a piano replacement fund that has been in place for a number of years. What we need in addition to that is an instrument replacement fund so that we can show that we are preparing to keep all of our other instruments current and in good working order. ASA interpreters continue. If you'll remember, we increased that budget last year, continuing to be a need for us. And then we are recommending a one-time additional transfer to our plant fund. I think you'll see in the purchasing agenda today, we have some significant elevator issues. that are related to new code changes that were not done prospectively as they usually are. So we have to go back and do some significant costly rework on some of our elevators. All our elevators are inspected, all our elevators are safe. This is changing some of the hydraulic mechanisms in there that we need to do over the next 2 years. So that work needs to be done by the end of 2026.
Thank you, Lisa. This is consistent with what we worked through at our most recent work session. I didn't mean to cut you off. You
Nope, I
just
think the
paused.
rest of the slides are all summary
Okay.
in nature. If you want to go one more, class. The plant fund additions, just, you'll see the transfer into general fund and then some reconciliation primarily related to timing. The only other thing, I think on the very last slide, one more there, just wanted to say out loud, particularly the last two, the state governor has released her state budget. In that budget, we have a 2.5% increase. We will continue to watch that. The next step in that process will be our May revenue consensus, so we will learn more about the budgeting process there, and we'll continue to keep you updated. And then we are excited to be able to share that our two large capital outlay projects, the Recreation Center, the Ford Recreation Center, is fully moving forward now. Excited to see some progress with that, and we will bring you at a future meeting and update. And then, as I mentioned, our LRC project is now official as of February 13th. That was the 90 days post-approval, so we now have the ability to move that project forward and more to come on that. That's it, unless there are other questions.
Other questions?
Lisa, thank you. Although your title might be one of finance, you're in every corner of the institution to our benefit. Is there a counselor on Lakeshore campus?
There are counseling services provided on Lakeshore campus. As our counselors, when they can move back and forth, there is not a counselor stationed at the Lakeshore, at least not at this point in time.
All right, and the new position would be housed here as well?
Likely. I'm not sure that the team has fully worked that out yet, and it wouldn't surprise me if a part of that that person's time is perhaps dedicated to Lakeshore, but I don't know that they're, from a programmatic standpoint, have worked out a new schedule just yet.
Anyone else?
I would just add to that response, we have currently 3 counselors, 3 full-time counselors. One of them is a program director, so it really reduces her time down to about half. And so this would just add that one position here, and last year we saw over 1,400 individual appointments.
Previously, Dr. Luck, we talked about translation services with the counselors. Will this help with that at all? Is that something totally separate?
I think that's a separate issue.
Anyone else? We do need to approve the mid-year budget. I will accept a motion to approve the budget as presented.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there support for that?
Or
Any more conversation or discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you. We're now at a time in our meeting when we appoint board officers. We've had conversation at work session on that, and we need to now confirm our conversations there. These officers' positions will take effect at the conclusion of this meeting, and we'll go through the calendar year 2025. And what we're going to do is we're going to do these one at a time. We'll do them one at a time. And I'll accept a motion to appoint Trustee Lovelady Mitchell as our chair.
So moved.
I hear 2 moves and at least 1 support in that, so we're going to bypass that and go to the discussion. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same side. Congratulations. New trustee, our new chair. Vice chair, I will accept a motion to appoint Trustee Williams as our vice chair, effective at the end of this meeting.
No.
No? Brian Smart, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right.
I was just seeing if you're listening. Yeah, thank you. Let's do it this way. Now, we could have done that more smoothly. You could have just, nobody could have moved that, and then I would have gone on from there. Let's back this thing up a minute, and let's go with Trustee Brian Smart as our vice chair, effective at the conclusion of this meeting. Thank you. And there's already been support for that. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now we get to secretary. I'll accept the motion to appoint Trustee Williams as the secretary of the board effective at the conclusion of this meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there support for that? Support? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Congratulations. And then the last one is I'll accept the motion to appoint Trustee Siegel as the board treasurer effective at the end of this meeting.
So moved.
Support? There's a lot of headway, a lot of support. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Congratulations. So these officers, as I said, will take effect at the conclusion of the meeting. Can we clap now? Standing ovation. You don't know what a delight it is to have people say, yeah, I'm willing to do that. And we're so grateful for your willingness to step forward in that capacity. Back to you, Lisa. If you have anything that you need to bring to our attention as it relates to financial update, don't feel obligated to do that, but I did want to give you a chance.
There are questions about financial statements.
Anything? I'm not hearing any, so thank you very much. We'll move right on then to updates. I'll invite Alex Miranda to the podium to give a student report.
Hello, trustees. It's nice to see you all again. For this update, I would like to introduce and invite my Vice President, Michael Zazzo, to deliver our remarks, as he's done an amazing job throughout his term, and this may be his last semester with student government. But thank you for allowing us this time to speak. Michael.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you to the trustees for letting me speak for you today. Student government has 4 new updates to share with the board as of today. Our first update is the student government has finalized our proposal regarding the campus activities fee and have sent it to the Board of Trustees for review. Our proposal, in short, is that of equalizing the campus activities fee across the board from $10 for full-time students and $5 for part-time to just a blanket 10 for both full and part-time students. We've collected data from students at town hall events and tabling events, and we have received support from the students, and that's why we felt comfortable moving forward with that proposal. Our second update would be that student government is planning on implementing a game room on campus in floor G2. Our goal tentatively is to get that up and running by the end of spring break. We've been in contact and conversation with Victoria Janowiak, Rebecca Whitman, Valerie Butterfield, Raynard Ross, and other members of staff who have helped us in outlining that, blueprinting, planning, and we hope to have that initiative resolved relatively soon. So that's fairly exciting. Our third update is student government's Lakeshore presence. We were initially planning to host our first Lakeshore Town Hall event on March 25th, though unfortunately at this time it came to our attention that HLC is going to be on campus and has requested that we host on campus so that we can showcase what it is that we do. So we have postponed that event for rescheduling at a later date. And then our final, more exciting update is that our student government e-board has finally completed and has filled up. All of our positions have been filled as Hector Cummings has taken on the role of treasurer and has been overlooking the campus activities fee and the budget as of January of this year. So I'd like to welcome Hector to our team. And with him, Nick, myself, and Alex, we're now a full official team. I can
Understand so everybody can see him, please?
that appears to be it for updates from student government. I can answer questions if there are any.
Anyone?
Michael, is the game room only allowed for students, or can board members participate?
I don't see a problem with board members participating.
Well, thank you for that question, Cheryl. We're ready. Anyone else? If not, once again, thanks for all the work you do. We are so believing that culture is so important on this campus, and you and your team do a marvelous job at helping shape the very culture that we desire. So thank you so much for the work.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Dr. Lepper.
Great, thank you. So several things to share with you, and I'll try to make them as brief as possible, but a week and a half ago, Trustee Brynsma and I were participants in the National Legislative Summit hosted by AACC and ACT. While we were in Washington, we met with Representatives Skolton, Huizinga, and Molinar, and also Senators Peter and Stabenow. Some of the things that we advocated for is there's a bipartisan workforce Pell bill that would lower the clock hour requirements from 800 to 150, so that would open up our short-term training programs to many more students for being Pell eligible. There's agreement, and so hopefully that will move forward as a need. But also one of the things that we advocated for in terms of the Pell Grant is almost uniquely a community college student issue. Students who receive a refund on their Pell Grant because of our lower tuition, so a Pell Grant would cover your tuition at GRCC, when they get that refund, they are taxed on those dollars. And so that takes more money out of students' pockets to support things like housing, childcare, transportation, food, which are allowable expenses. And so we're asking the federal government to eliminate that taxation on the Pell Grants. Refunds for students, it doesn't impact four-year institution students very often because their tuition is significantly higher, and so their entire tuition or their entire Pell Grant is applied towards their tuition. So in essence, our students are getting less as community college students because their tuition is more affordable. Also, we indicated support for the Farm Bill, which is a bipartisan, bicameral Community College Agricultural Advancement Act, which would provide additional funding to community colleges to support agricultural programs, which are still connected with STEM, and we do have a need for that in our community. And also contained within that Farm Bill is also calling for a reduction in process for SNAP enhancement. So college students are eligible for SNAP eligibility. However, they have to go through additional hoops to demonstrate their eligibility, and so we're asking for that process to be streamlined. Anything you would add to that, Trustee Brynsma?
No, just that Representative John Molinar shared that his wife is a JRJC graduate, a proud JRJC graduate in the X-ray technician field, and that whether you're in Lansing or Washington, D.C., both representatives of both parties support community colleges, and so it's always a pleasure to be able to talk to our Michigan delegation.
In terms of winter enrollment, we saw a 3.6% increase in head count. So to put that in perspective, that's 398 additional students that we didn't have a year ago. We saw almost a 5% increase in new students, and again this semester we saw approximately 12% increase in our Black, African American, Hispanic, Latino, and Asian communities, so we're becoming more diverse as an institution. And we had a 13% growth in full-time students. And I think that that's probably attributed to the Michigan Reconnect program and other things. We also...
Related to that, so when we look at the new students, do we know where they're coming from? Are they coming from the places they traditionally come from, or are we getting students from different areas now?
We are getting students from different areas, so we saw significant growth in out-of-state students, international students, and out-of-district students. Wow. And so that's almost a perfect segue into speaking about our Lakeshore campus, where we had 662 students enrolled, and that is 13.5% increase over last winter term. Any questions in terms of enrollment? Campus employment, this is something that has been an ongoing conversation. We currently have 182 active student employees on campus, which is a significant increase. We only have 15 open positions on campus. This gets us back to almost pre-pandemic numbers, which was around 200. And so this has been a success for this by offering students free parking. And so we are working with 4 students to find them on-campus jobs. But other than that, we have positions filled on our campus and have students employed, which are directly connected to student success, completion, and retention. In terms of community engagement, we have signed a 5-year partnership with the Urban League to host the Young Black Males Conference, similar to what we had done with the Latino Youth Conference with the Hispanic Center of West Michigan. But we've also been working with the Urban League, and we have a listening session scheduled with them at the Center for Community Transformation on April 11th. And earlier today, some of you participated in our legislative luncheon, where we talked about Michigan Reconnect, the Promise Zone, the work that our foundation does, mental health and basic needs of our students, campus safety, and also to thank our legislators for their support for our capital outlay project. With that, I just want to end by saying we have a person in the room who was named as a nominee for Newsmaker of the Year. So Julie Parks.
Yeah.
From the education sector. So, congratulations to Julie. That's a huge honor for her and for the college. So thank you for your hard work. You're deserving of it. And that concludes my report.
Oh, thank you. Any questions or follow-up comments to that? Hearing none, thanks. Thanks for all your work. Let's move on. I'll invite Frank Connor to the podium it says here Faculty Association update, but I think it's his time just to give us some reflections from Frank. Is that kind of a poor way to introduce you? Is that a poor way to introduce you? Reflections from Frank. Here we go.
Chairperson Cucci, members of the board, President Lepper, I don't know if Misty's still talking to me yet. She wasn't as of last week, because I shared this with her.
About that. Oh, maybe not.
So as evidently many of you know, I'm going to retire as of April. So quite quickly, not only as a faculty association president, but also as a faculty member of GRCC. I've been here for 38 years, 7 presidents, 11 provosts, a new one on the way. I went from Grand Rapids Junior College to Grand Rapids Community College. 6,000 students to a high of 18,000 to the numbers that we have today. And while there have been many ups and downs, I have truly loved working at GRCC. Last week, a colleague asked me why I didn't teach at a university, which was a great question since that was my original career path. And it actually took me some time to answer, even after having been here for 38 years. My beginning at Grand Rapids Junior College was really a series of convoluted events that brought me here. But once I started, it really was 2 things that kept me here. The first was, frankly, personal opportunity. For much of my tenure here, the college has had a true entrepreneurial spirit. Creativity and exploration were nurtured. During my time here, I worked for the Michigan Department of Commerce, was on a national software board, was part of the Community Learning Enterprise, on the planning board for the Racial Justice Institute, originated the Center for Teaching and Learning, the New Faculty Institute. I was the director of the Faculty Institute on Research, currently president of the Faculty Association. And these honestly are simply a sample of how the college engaged my mind, my passion, and my skills to keep me connected as an employee. Of course, nothing supersedes mission. At my core, I consider myself a social justice advocate. Nothing better represents this cause than a community college. We are the community college. We are democracy's college. We provide a space for anyone to better their lives, regardless of their history or any personal attributes. It's interesting to me that over time, I hear faculty and even administrators lament over the change in student population. They aren't as academically prepared as they used to be. They aren't as focused. They work too much and don't commit to their education. And it's probably true. But I don't see this as a bad thing. I view it through a different lens. When I started at Grand Rapids Junior College, our philosophy was rooted in transfer education. And while we had a very robust occupational education program, the vast majority of students attending GRCC were college prepared. Even those seeking two-year terminal degrees for employment came with the academic skills needed to succeed. Not all, but clearly most. But the purpose of a community college is not to serve just those that come from a background that puts them on a college trajectory. It is to serve all students. I believe for years that the reason our student population is changing is because, honestly, we're doing a better job of meeting our mission. We don't primarily serve those students for whom college was always on their path, but we also serve a large population for whom attending college was only in a single moment something for which they aspired. And that's why we're here and what makes GRCC special. But lastly, as I think about it, there's also a third reason, and honestly, it's the people. I've been fortunate in my time here to work with many great people. Their passion, skills, and dedication are to be cherished and admired. But what I've learned from these people, many who are no longer at the college, is their names and individual contributions will be forgotten. So regardless of my legacy, no matter how small it may be, I know it will eventually fade away. And that's okay. However, knowing this, what can't fade away is the legacy of Grand Rapids Junior College, now Grand Rapids Community College. Our contributions continue because the work of the college continues. So my advice as a departing member of Grand Rapids Community College is to find your passion and connect it to the mission of this institution. The stroking of your personal ego and the exertion of power might feel good for a moment, but it doesn't last. Commitment to service, commitment to community, commitment to something bigger than you, that's what will last. That's what will make you want to return each day, even in the face of an ever-changing cultural, political, and economic landscape. GRCC matters. Our charge while we are here is to assure that this remains true long after we are forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. We don't often applaud after somebody gives a comment, but it feels clumsy not to. So why don't we just say thanks for the comments. Also, Frank, I was one who was not aware that you were going to be retiring in April. And I'm certain we'll have opportunity to express our thanks in other settings. But let me at least get that in motion and just say thanks to you. Quite frankly, as a trustee, you have made our work more enjoyable, and we're grateful for that. So with that, it's probably too late. Now I'm maybe beginning to understand why Misty's not talking to you. I'm beginning to get.
I mean, there could be
get a
lots
sense
of reasons,
that.
but this has a very specific
That
one.
may have been one of those. So anyway, thanks for your work. And like I said, we'll have opportunity between now and the time you actually leave to express our thanks. So thanks again.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks.
We also have communication to the board. Which so often we just don't have. We just don't have. So we do have one, and I'm going to ask our party board secretary, Kathleen, to just read that to us, or for us, please.
Thank you, Chairman Cucci. We received a communication from the Early Childhood Learning Laboratory, which I'll read. Hello, Misty and Board of Trustees. The children and staff of the Early Childhood Learning Laboratory want to extend our appreciation for your support of our child care program and the education program. This semester, we're working with education, OTA, psychology, and nursing students in our classrooms. Can you share what is OTA, President Lepper?
Occupational therapy assistant.
Occupational therapy assistant, thank you. We know what the students learn here will benefit our whole community one day. So much love and learning happens at the ECLL each day, and Valentine's Day gives us a special reason to share the joy. We've sent a Valentine created by our preschoolers for each of you, and we all got one of these in the room today when we came for the meeting. Sincerely, the ECLL children, staff, and students. And I want to just add, if you'll indulge me, a personal note. When I first moved here from Chicago 20 years ago, our daughter went to the ECLL, and it was my first contact with GRCC, and it was delightful, and so this is a joy.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. We'll move on with our agenda, the approval of the consent agenda. A motion, please, to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Support for that.
Support.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. We also have some purchases over $100,000 in our packet that we need to approve. A motion to approve those, please.
So moved.
Any discussion on those? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Please note also, we had a couple of purchases over $100,000 that were approved in between meetings, and those are noted in our packet as well. That leads us to our final opportunity for a public comment. This is the opportunity, if any of you wish to make comment on anything, any matter that relates to the college, you can do so at this time. One. Seeing no one come forward, we reach the time in the meeting where we have final board comments. If there are any trustees who wish to make comments, they can do it.
That's me. Well, I certainly want to echo the accolades related to the awards, whether it's a formal award or the reward of having a very full and beautiful and robust tenure here, as well as having a full team related to our student leaders. And really want to lift up the continual demonstrations of strategic partnership, Dr. Lepper. So earlier today, we had an opportunity to interact with some of the community partners, and I thought, again, it just demonstrated your empathy. The reason why however, I'm lifting my voice right now is just to say, in addition to those things, I think we would be remiss if we didn't pause and thank our outgoing chairperson of the Board of Trustees related to your investment in our community, your investment related to this board, and your unwavering leadership over the last 7+ years. So thank you so much. I know I'm not alone. I wonder what words other trustees might want to add at this time, relatedly.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Trustee Lovelady Mitchell, because words are elusive when someone has such a great impact, not only as a leader, but on one's personal life. And it may be absurd to think of this, but in thinking about President Cucci's leadership, I was thinking of Fred Astaire, someone who just sort of dances through a difficult situation, smoothing ruffled feathers, having a great deal of savvy, and a huge heart, is an exceptional listener, reflecting back what board members say, lovingly, accurately, and doing a tremendous amount of healing when time called for it in difficult times for the college as a whole. We are a very cohesive, caring board, but it is due very much in part to your leadership. Thank you.
I would like to say, so Chairperson Cucci has been chair of this board for 8 years. And in that 8 years' time, we have seen a transition to Dr. Lepper's predecessor, right when you became chair. Dr. Pink was transitioning in. We saw a pandemic, and then we had a presidential search, and then a second presidential transition, all of which I feel like Dave is like a duck where he's very placid on the surface, but he's working and serving like crazy underneath. And so your commitment and your leadership and your hand on the keel of the boat has been so appreciated, but overall your passion for the institution and the students. So thank you.
Well, those are very, very, very kind words. I have said repeatedly, I served on a number of boards. I have never served on a board that had the ability to dignify everybody's voice around this board. We may come across as a unified bunch, but when we're in meetings, we are a mixture of a variety of thoughtful voices. And each of those thoughtful voices dignifies the other thoughtful voices that are around the table. And that's what separates you guys from any of the other boards that I have been on. I do have one final thing to do before I give up the chair, and that is I get to pick up this gavel, and I get to get out of this chair, and I get to deliver this gavel to Trustee Lovelady Mitchell, who gets to not only adjourn this meeting, but hit this gavel when we gather together again to set up the next meeting. So it is all yours, and I'm trying to find words to express my complete joy right now. And I'm tempted to just start dancing around the table, but that would be embarrassing for me particularly and for all of the rest of you. So it is incredibly joyful for me to hand that gavel over to you.
Thank you, sir. So, before we adjourn the meeting, and thank you so much, I do want to say that as your friends, we do have a small token of appreciation for you.
Yes.
Oh.
And your lovely missus. And
Yes.
might you go ahead?
Yes, here you go, sir.
Whoa.
Please enjoy the small token of our appreciation. Thank you.
You guys are great.
And so,
Oh.
that being said, thank you, and the meeting is now adjourned.